everyone. My name is Fraser Waldron, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the psychological side of lower back injuries. The first video I made on this topic was on the physical injury itself and things you can do to increase your capacity to heal and come back to baseline. But in this video, I want to talk about the psychological side of it, which I think in some ways is actually just as important, if not more so, because this specific type of injury, at least for me and some of the people that I've talked to about this, would say that the mind game is just as important as the physical injury itself. So just as a recap from, just in case this is the first video you're watching, I've had 2 back surgeries, one at L4 and L5, a foramotomy, where they actually went in and routed or opened up the openings in my vertebrae at L4, L5, and L5S1, right at the lower base of the spine there, at the sacrum for L5, S1. As well as I recovered from that, and then I had a second surgery where I actually got a microdiscectomy at L5S1. So I had 2 surgeries in one joint complex, which is unusual, especially for someone at my age. And I was severely disabled for about 6 months after the second surgery. It actually made my situation worse, had lots of scar tissue and issues and stuff. I essentially couldn't walk for the first month, and then for about 6 months, I could only walk slowly for about 30 minutes at a time before I'd have to lay down flat on the ground. So that was kind of it. But over a 2-year period, I maybe got 50% better. And then over a 3-year period, I was almost 100% better. And now I'm in a situation where I'm doing fairly well. I've recovered to my baseline, and I pretty much can do everything like a normal person would, although I don't, do backflips anymore or heavy squats or whatever the case may be. But for the normal case, when I'm at the wedding, I can still got my dance moves, things are good. So I've already done the first video on what I did mechanically. The second piece is psychologically. I think is super important, especially in my situation. When I had my first back surgery, I recovered relatively quickly, and I was young. I was 21, 22, something like that. So when I recovered rapidly, it wasn't a huge issue for me because it was just like previous injuries I'd had in the past. I played American football in high school and university. I don't think I'm too soft per se. Like I was in the military, I was a police officer, I've worked for Interpol, done a bunch of crazy stuff. And I've always perceived myself as someone who can like power through injuries, just if I sprain my ankle, just kind of, throw some dirt on it, take a Tylenol, take an Advil, you're fine, right? Like get back out there and play, But with the back injuries, the key thing is that the recovery period can be so long that this can create weird scenarios for you. So for example, in my first back surgery, I recovered quickly and went back to the gym in like a few months. Like it was really fast because I was young. But then when I got my second one, when I was a little bit older, 28, I think it was 28, or maybe 29, I don't know, whatever. When I got my second back surgery, I was like essentially disabled. And this really put me in a weird position because I had identified myself as someone who was physically able, and now I was clearly not physically able. And this created a big mental burden on me where I had to redo my identity. So the first thing is that one, your identity, you don't own it. It's something that's flexible and can maneuver based on your context. So my narrative was like, Fraser is a physically capable person who's athletic and can do things. But when I was no longer able to do that, I sat in that in a negative way for significantly too long of a period. So I suffered unnecessarily. So the first thing I would say is that your identity pre-back is not something you own. It's just something you inhabit for the moment. It's like a job. Like, you're the principal of a school, or you're a firefighter, or you work at Goldman Sachs. Like, you don't own that. You just inhabit it for a period of time, and then you give that up. Entropy always exists, and you have to love your fate. So as soon as I embraced my situation as opposed to resisted it, as soon as I leaned into it, I love my fate. I'm going to turn this into something meaningful. I'm going to make a video about this. I'm going to make my life meaningful based on my current context. That took like 90% of the psychological weight, because at the time I wasn't sure that if I'd ever get better. I was in a situation where I was on YouTube, like looking up stuff, and I went from the highest mountain to I looked everywhere for everything, every piece of information that I could get to make myself better. And luckily I was able to, but that's not a guarantee. Like life can be funny that way, right? Especially if you've had fusions, maybe more intense back surgeries, it can be very bad in the sense that your long-term recovery is not guaranteed, or your recovery to baseline is not guaranteed, right? So giving up outcomes are out of my control. I'm cool with that. Reframing things to be meaningful. So, I identified as an able-bodied person, but now I'm not. and I'm going to lean into that new identity, and I'm going to leverage that to be good for others, to be for other people. So I do a lot of videos on philosophical content. If you look at my other videos, you'll see that I talk a lot about philosophy. One of the main positive things that came out of my back injury was I got deep into the philosophical weeds. So although my body atrophied, my intellectual muscle, if you want to phrase it that way, my philosophical game increased rapidly because it needed to augment while my body deteriorated, essentially. So now when I look at my back injury, I'm actually quite happy it happened, because my citadel, my psychological mind, my frame, my entity that's not in the physical sense is significantly more robust. I've been through the fire to an extent. I've phoenixed out of it, and what's emerged has been a stronger version of me. And if that's true with me, that could be true with you as well, or anybody who's going through a significant back injury situation. So that's one thing I'd say. If you have an identity that's based on not being injured, and now you are injured for a prolonged period of time, that you can reframe that narrative. It's not set in stone, and you should reframe it endlessly, always, until you find a narrative that fits and is useful for you. You can be inspired being injured. You don't have to be in a bad position psychologically for a long period of time. So that's the first bit. I've made a couple of videos on this topic extensively, and the reframing tool I use all the time. If I lose a job, I'm like, wow, this is a great opportunity, versus, oh my God, I'm such a loser, I got fired. Or if I injure myself again, like if I hurt my back today, I would say, okay, good, I love my fate. Amor fati, as the Stoics would say. I love this situation, good, like I'm going to embrace it, which is not easy to do. It's easy to say, but hard to do. But you can do it, because I have done it, and so can you. So that's the first piece. The second piece is that the recovery period for back stuff creates a weird mindset. So when you injure your back, I talked about this in the first video. Yeah, when you injure your back, especially if you herniate the disc, the recovery period for disc adaptations is like 2 years, the surgeon told me. No one told me this. I couldn't find that piece of information, but my surgeon was like, hey, it's a 2-year recovery window for discs to have an adaptation, for the disc material to actually change, remodel, and be in a better situation for your back, like for just to recover your mobility, your baseline capabilities, essentially. And I didn't know that at first. So when I kept re-injuring myself, or when I had setbacks, I didn't have that 2-year kind of minimum time threshold in my mind. I didn't have that structured out. And once I had that, it was extremely relieving. So take it from me, if you have a back injury, it might be your whole life that you're dealing with that. And not arguably you will, right? Even if it's a disc bulge, not a herniation, even if you haven't had surgery, that area is compromised, in my opinion, for life. Like, you're never going to be the same. But because if you know that, as opposed to just going, it's like an ankle, it's going to get better, like in 2 weeks, I'm fine. If you go, hey, I've herniated the disc, like the disc is actually opened up, the nucleus is leaking, like I think there's tissue that's been eroded away or degraded enough that you've torn it, then that 2-year window is relieving to you, because then when you have the highs and the lows of the recovery period of 2 years, you know that, if I had a bad month today and a good month next month, not to have unrealistic expectations into the future, because you know that there's a 2-year window that you have to get through. So that's just good to know. Secondly, injuries into the nervous system or the central nervous system is in some ways psychological. So I'll give you a story of this. When I hurt my back the second time, I was in a lot of pain. I had crazy sciatica down my leg, and I couldn't really do anything. But my parents were in the medical field, and I had to fly home to their home because they had better access to surgeons and better access to the medical system in Canada. And so I flew home whilst extremely injured, and the flight was only an hour and a half. But because I was had just herniated my disc, to sit in the plane, there's no first class to go to. It's like a small little hopper flight. So to sit in the plane, which was really the seat was really acute. I could sit in a chair that went back quite a bit, like kind of laying down at an angle. But when it's acute, like straight up, that was like my worst position I could possibly be in. Like, I couldn't sit in a chair for more than like 20 minutes for like 6 months after the surgery. So just imagine, like, in the moment, crazy pain. So it was so, I'm using the word traumatizing loosely here, but it was so painful that my brain imprinted that airports were dangerous, like to my back, essentially. So even now, it's been like a decade, I'm full function. I can do a handstand, I can jump right now, I can run out and run back, I can do anything within reason. But when I drive to the airport, I'm totally fine. I'm not thinking about it. As soon as I get out of the taxi and I'm at the front of the airport, I have sciatica down my leg, even though I'm not injured. So just imagine that. Like I actually have pain in my leg, even though I know I don't. It's like phantom pain. It's psychological. So the reason I'm telling you this is because even like years after the injury, I still think about it, or it still affects me in the non-physical sense, but psychologically. If I take a weird step, like if I'm in Bali right now, and I took a step down like some stairs and it was wet and I kind of slipped, I didn't fall. I like caught myself, but I took a hard step and my brain went, oh, did you mess up your back? Did you mess up your back? Have you like, and it gets catastrophic. It's like, are you gonna die? Like, are you gonna be in a wheelchair? Because maybe that's, at one point that was potentially an option for me. And then I get sciatica down my leg. I haven't hurt myself. And then after about 10 minutes, I've forgotten about it. Like I'm doing something else. And then the pain is gone. I go, oh, pain was gone. I guess I didn't hurt myself. Do you see what I'm saying? So the reason why I'm telling you this is because you can, over a long period of time, start to consider yourself like vulnerable. At least I did. I was like, oh, I'm like a piece of glass and the lightest breeze can break me. Like I'm like a flower in the wind. So I went from one extreme, which was like football player, I'll play with broken arm, legs, like concussion, who cares? Like, let's get back into the game. I went from that extreme to over like a year period to being like, anything will kill me. So like if there's 20 stairs, like by the 19th stair, I'm like, maybe I should stop walking up the stairs because like this is too much exertion and I could blow up my back. So your body, so there's a happy medium in between those two. But for a few years, I was like, not depressed, that's the wrong term. I was fearful of the external world in a way that was irrational. So I don't know if this is relevant to everyone, but it was relevant for me because I went from one extreme to the other. I just had this big swing. And then what pulled me out of it was I watched a YouTube clip of I talked about this in the first video. It was like a Navy SEAL guy, and I'm paraphrasing this, a Navy SEAL guy who got shot like a bunch of times and like won the Medal of Honor or something. And one of the bullets that hit him got lodged in his spine or something. Like it hit his vertebrae and then like was in the disc and the vertebrae. And then over like 5 years or something, the bullet like slowly migrated to the front of his stomach. And then he cut out the bullet with like a knife at a barbecue or something. Like it was a really wild story. And when I watched that story, I was about maybe a year and a half into my recovery. So I was actually like getting a bit better. I could like, walk a little bit longer. Could do things. And like my surgery was not as intense as having a bullet lodged into your spine. And like in the video, it's like shows the dude like walking around and he had like gone back to combat. And like, I was like, and maybe to feel like a little child. And I thought, oh my God, I've gone from one extreme back to this, like, I'm like a princess and like the lightest gust of wind could knock me over. And then I was like, no, I'm going to come back to like the center line. And that video cued me to do that. It just appears like an epiphany. And that was a large win for me because I could then move freely through my environment without being super worried about blowing my back out. And then what I did is I go, oh, whenever I have that feeling of fear, I'm going to label that as a flag to kind of explore, like intellectualize. Ooh, I'm feeling like I'm a bit vulnerable. Like, let's explore that. And so, when I'm at the gym, I'll do certain exercises that maybe I wouldn't have done before because I got a bit of fear. And I slowly kind of move into them. Certain things, like I went on a boat like last summer and I was on a tube, where you had to get pulled by like a rubber tube. And I did that. I said, hey, go slow, but like, let's just get into it. Because again, I was psychologically, I was like, I can't do it. I'm going to blow my back, which is true. If we were going super fast, maybe I wouldn't injure myself. But I was like, just take me on it. Because I could feel that irrational fear. It felt like I was at the airport. I could feel sciatica on my leg, like while I'm on the boat. Like just the idea of getting onto the tube was like, oh, I'm gonna blow my back. But I was like, hey guys, like go slow, I just want to feel it, I just want to sit in it. And then we did, and I fell off, and everything was good. Like at that point, I was 100% healed. This was like last year, like I'm good to go. It's interesting how in some contexts, if you're comfortable, I can go full 100%. And then if I go to the airport, it's like, oh my God, don't look at me. Like I can break my back at any moment. So I've talked to a few people who've had similar injuries to me, and they have reported the same psychological phenomena. So just be careful of that because the injury is different than like when you sprain your ankle and you can kind of like work through it. The back is weird. Like you'll have a good month, a bad month, a good month, a bad month, 2 bad months in a row. You're not actually like and it feels like your behavior could be the same, but the inflammation just kind of comes back in weird ways, etc. Like for me now, it's kind of like an old bad knee. If I do too much activity, like if I walk too much or run too much, I'll get like inflammation for 2 or 3 days in the joint, and that gives me a bit of sciatica. Like it's manageable, but man, like if you look at me, I'm like, it looks like I'm in the horror movie. I'm like, oh, I'm about to die, you know, like I'm by myself in like a dark hallway. The world's gonna explode, and that's because it's psychological. I actually haven't really hurt myself. I'm gonna take some anti-inflammatories. Things are gonna be fine. I know it's gonna work out intellectually, but sort of subconsciously, I'm fearful. But now I have a mechanism to fight that. So it's essentially, I look out, I intellectualize it. I go third party, I go, oh, I'm fearful, interesting. And then I move towards that to explore that, because what's in the way is the way, as they say. And so that methodology has helped me overcome that, even when it pops up in weird places. So that's it. Narratives, you can reframe your identity. You don't own it. It's transient. You decide what it is. Like, you know, like you can't be a doctor forever. Eventually you'll die. You can't be a fireman forever. You won't die. Having the back injury is a redefinition. You can redefine yourself in a meaningful way, and that can be useful for you. And then secondly, if you are like me and you've oscillated to be too ginger in the world, like to be too fearful of moving forward in your life because of that perceived injury, you may have fallen into this sort of like a victim mindset to an extent. And so don't be like me. Come back to the middle ground and push yourself. The body will adapt, and you are more robust than you think, especially if you've been a couple months into it, like you're on the path already. And then just lastly, as I repeat, like 2-year minimum for a disc herniation. That was a key psychological thing for me, because once you have a sort of a long-term understanding of what's happening, then the highs and lows of the symptoms and the highs and lows of the mental game become more manageable, given that it's got you know you have a long time horizon to maneuver through. So that was really useful for me too. So yeah, if I missed anything, is there anything to add? I'm always looking to learn on this subject and get better. So this is the second video of the 2-part series. Let me know if there's anything else to add. I'll make another video if I think of anything else. And I hope you're having a good day, and I'll catch you on the next video.